Hello, my name is Leigh Hodgkinson and I am an author and an illustrator, and I'm going to today read you my second picture book that I made called Colin and the Wrong Shadow. It's all about this little guy here, Colin, who's a cat. You might recognise him from my first picture book, Colin and the Snooze Box, where he didn't have a home. Well, he's got a home now, but he's got a different kind of worry going on. For some reason, things are not quite right. And in this book, we'll discover what that reason is and what happens. So here we go, Colin and the Wrong Shadow. Colin has just woken up from his catnap. He smiles as he remembers his dream. There we can see his dream going over here, and look, his little dream thought bubbles are actually Cheerio breakfast cereal, and he's in this big breakfast cereal bowl here. His favourite dream, swimming in a gigantic bowl of creamy milk. Now that he's awake, Colin is feeling funny. Not funny ha ha, but funny peculiar. Colin has a feeling that things aren't quite as they should be. For some reason, he appears to have the wrong shadow. Oh yeah, here he is. And here's his shadow. Doesn't look quite as it should, does it? Colin has no idea why, but decides not to let a silly thing like this spoil an otherwise pleasant afternoon. But as it turns out, Colin's afternoon is not at all pleasant. The other cats snigger. Here they are, sniggering. Not very nice. Look, he doesn't look that happy, does he? Poor Colin. Even his shadow doesn't look very happy. He looks a bit schlumpy. Little Flossie Fluffball squeaks at him. Look at her. She thinks it's hilarious, doesn't she, little Flossie Fluffball? Colin doesn't think it's hilarious. And the beaky birds, even the beaky birds, don't bother to look up from their splashy bath. I think Colin's upset because the birds aren't even afraid of him, because he's got a funny shadow in the shape of something that shouldn't be. Colin is starting to wonder if he actually is a mouse after all. There's him wondering, Colin. Colin a bit more mousy. And Colin as a mouse. Is Colin a mouse or is he a cat? He doesn't know anymore. He does like the odd nibble of cheese, if that means anything. Who doesn't? I like a nibble of the odd piece of cheese. Not odd cheese, just a little bit of cheese. No, Colin is definitely 100% cat. So he's looking here in his reflection in the watering can. And yep, he's a cat here. His reflection, cat. Fact. He's just a cat with a stupid mouse shadow. Colin thinks that if he had any other shadow, perhaps something with a little more wow would be better. He's imagining him here with a huge elephant shadow. That would be quite cool, wouldn't it? Everything would be hunky-dory, but it isn't in the least bit hunky-dory now. Not in the slightest. Here he is, having a little sad think underneath Grandma Flapjack's bed. However, even gloomy cats need to stretch their legs occasionally. A good job too, as this is when Colin spies something very interesting indeed. Thank you very much. It's his own shadow. Look, head through the cat flap. And he spotted something that looks quite familiar. It's his own shadow. Look at it, skipping past without a care in the world. What a cheek! Colin decides to follow it. Let's follow it. He slinks snoopily under there, under the washing. There's Grandma Flapjack's tights and her pants and one sock. I don't know where the other sock is. He tippy-toes over here, dong, 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 being ever so shushy and as quiet as a... What? It's Vernon! Vernon, a pink mouse. Colin asks very politely if Vernon took his shadow. Vernon says, "No, not exactly." Colin thinks that someone is telling a tiny lie. Who do you think it is that's telling a lie? I think it's Vernon. Vernon gulps and says, "While you were snoozing, your shadow got bored and fidgety and wandered off." And look, he's spotting the shadow wandering off. "I found the shadow and it made me feel big and important, like a superstar." There he is, trying on Colin's lovely big cat shadow. No, and he feels like number one. "I didn't want to leave you without a shadow, Colin, so I gave you mine, a kind of switch swap." Swap the shadows. Colin would rather like the switch swap switched back. There he is. Doing, 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 doing. Vernon thinks that right now would probably be a good idea to scurry home. I think he lives in here, in his little mousy hole up at the top of the stairs. Uh-oh, Colin's shadow is too big to fit through the door. There you go. Vernon's gone through into his mousy hole. This big cat shadow won't go through. Vernon squishes, squeezes and squashes it, but it just won't budge. I love Vernon's house. Look, chair made out of crackers. Nice cheese table there. This might be a slight problem as Vernon loves his mouse house. He's only just finished decorating. If having this enormous shadow means that he can't pootle about at home, then what is the point? You see, it's just not easy being a tiny pink mouse all of the time. And having Colin's marvellous shadow meant that everybody took Vernon seriously for a change. Look at him here. He's feeling very small and very sad, and he says, "You couldn't possibly ever understand, Colin," Vernon squeaks, oh so quietly. Do you think Colin won't understand? Colin knows exactly how it feels as it happens. It's not nice to be sniggered at, squeaked at, and ignored, you know. It made Colin feel terribly small and all alone. Perhaps if they both stopped worrying about silly shadows, they could concentrate on more important things like having fun together. Sounds like a good idea to me. First things first, to get Vernon out of this pickle. There you go, he's pushing. Vernon pushes and Colin pulls. And the shadow stretches until suddenly, ping, toppily, tumble, bump. Look, there they are, both are. Phew-wee! Not exactly easy peasy, but the result is spot on. Can you notice something about the shadows in that picture there? Shall we see? Oh, yes! Everything's okay. Vernon loves being footloose and fancy-free again and has a new spring in his step. There he is, bouncy Vernon mouse. Boing, 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 boing. This is because being with both his own shadow and Colin means double the fun. He's got a new friend. In fact, Vernon feels better than a superstar, more like a super-duper star. And look at all the cats and the birds, can't believe it. And to be honest, lugging about that big bulky shadow was a touch tiring. Oh, I bet it was, Vernon. Perhaps a refreshing cuppa, followed by a little snooze, will do the trick. He's got a nice little cup of tea here, and it's a very little cup of tea here for Colin. He's got some little cheesy nibbles there, of course. Now, that is what Colin calls a pretty perfect plan. One slurpy sip later, Colin clambers up onto his favourite cushion. This time his shadow is too sleepy. This time his shadow is sleepy too and sticking like glue. So there will be no prowling about and getting into trouble with a certain cheeky little mouse. And look, he's got some more dream bubbles here. What's he dreaming about this time? Oh look, he's finishing the lovely bowl of milk there. And this time he's got a little chum helping him. And you can see two shadows up here watching. There we go. So that's Colin and the Wrong Shadow. I hope you enjoyed it.